So yeah, thanks to Sarah, thanks to Mike for coming out. I'm Nate, as he said. You might think of us both as forehand specialists, but we're going to flip it on you guys, and we're going to talk mostly about backhand today, because we also know about that. So, but then we're going to do Q&A. We're not going to have you guys throw, so we're not going to do individual reviews of everybody, but you guys, if you want to see us demonstrate some techniques at the end, please feel free to ask. I personally will throw any kind of shot you want me to try. I think Sarah probably will too. Whatever you want to see, we'll show you guys the technique that we use. Crush a couple up this hill, whatever you guys want to do. Okay, sound good?
Yeah.
So the clinic we're going to start with is the same clinic that Paul and I do at our McBeast Challenge events. Just going over 5 common mistakes that we see in the backhand drive, show you kind of the wrong way, and then show you what the right way is. And Sarah's going to help me out with that and also contribute some stuff about forehands, and whatever she wants to tell you that comes out of her head is awesome, because she has a great resource for all kinds of throws.
A lot of the same things that he's going to talk about will apply to the sidearm throw as well.
Yep. So we'll go through these 5 things. It'll probably take us 20 minutes, and then we'll take a bunch of questions. We'll throw some throws until everybody knows everything about disc golf, or at least as much as we know. We'll give you everything in our brains for the next hour. All right, so starting off, who knows what the X step is? I also know, but I always ask that question. Little secret, don't care how many of you know. I'm going to show you anyway, probably twice. So Sarah's going to show us 4-step thing. I'll do it too, but I'll go forward, she can go sideways, whatever. But it's 4 steps. As a right-handed player, like both of us are, it's going to be a left foot step, a right foot across, a left foot behind, and a reach with the right. So we'll do it twice. Left foot step, right across, left behind, reach with the right. The whole point of the X step is footwork that we use in disc golf to get the biggest muscles in our body into the disc to throw as far as we can, okay? So that's the entire point. That's the whole reason we do it. The first mistake that I often see, if Sarah goes through that X step to begin, and then on that reaching step, when she comes out of it, so yeah, go behind, reach, yep. But when she reaches out, often you'll see people point this toe forward and land on a flat foot. When she's in this position, her hips are sort of facing this way, and she's lost that connection with the low body. So what did I say the whole point of the X step was? To engage that low body, use the big muscles. If you come out of your X step like this, you only do the X step because you saw it on YouTube. You didn't gain anything from the X step. You've undone the entire thing just by putting your foot like this, because now the hips are forward and you have nothing to gain from the bottom half of your body. Okay? So what's the fix? Pretty simple. We're gonna have Sarah pick up her heel and turn it slightly away. So just to land like this a little bit. Now she can get her hips and shoulders back. She can use the low body. She's got somewhere to go with those big muscles to throw the disc as hard as she can. Okay, so pretty simple fix. Got to make sure that you're landing on that toe, heels up and slightly away. The thing I don't want to see after I do this clinic, sometimes people will go throw and I see them doing this. And that's not good. So I'm not saying turn your heel all the way around. I'm talking about throwing for distance. You'll see me in this tournament this week standing still, throwing like this with a pointed toe, because I'm standing still and I'm not trying to throw far. So by no means am I saying that every backhand must be around like this, but I am saying if you want to throw as far as you possibly can, turn your heel slightly away so that you can get your hips and shoulders back. Okay? Great. Number 2 is about the reach back. So what we want to see on a reach back, if Sarah goes through again, what we want to see is a long extended arm, extended wrist, and outside of her core. So she's doing it perfectly right now. The mistake that we often see is what I call an overreach. And that's when she's going to put the disc here behind her body. If her aim point is over there, yeah, she can show you this way. Now she's got obstruction. When she wants to start her elbow drive and go to her target, now she's got to dodge her own body. So the problem with that is it forces her to pull through on kind of a C shape. What starts on that C shape often finishes on that C shape. She's going to often have a problem with grip lock, and she's going to lose potential power because she had to go around her own body to get to the target. Disc golf, we want to play it as a linear game, trying to make our acceleration of the disc on a straight line as much as we possibly can. That's why we need her reach back to be straight and extended and outside the body so that when she does start her elbow drive, her own body is not in the way and she's able to go straight through to the target with as much power as she can. So I think when people do that overreach, I think it's kind of coming from having your heart in the right place to some extent, really trying to reach back far, but that can sometimes manifest itself as you going around the body. The mistake that I also see quite often that really isn't your heart in the right place is the reach back up here behind your ear. So Sarah can kind of show what that looks like. You see people that curl the disc way up here. The one thing about guys that do this is they never know that they're doing this. You always think that you're this guy, but you might be this guy. The best way to find out is to take a slow motion video of yourself, and almost every cell phone now will do that. So I would totally suggest you and friends take a slow motion video, look at your form and really analyze your form. And Sarah and I are some of the best players in the world, and I can speak for her and me and say that our form is not perfect either. When we see ourselves on video, I'm sure you and me, we both go, ugh, like that's, oh, I need to change that. Or that's something I maybe could work on. So don't think that process is ever over. I'm still trying to look at ways that I do things and try different things all the time. That's just kind of how sports work, I think. So don't be afraid to look at that video. It might not be as pretty as you think. You might be this guy. Obviously, there's nothing linear about this. You're bouncing through the shot and you're not getting any extension or really nearly as much power as you could. Okay, so that's reach back. Number 3 is about timing. So this is again getting back to that low body. If Sarah gets into her loaded position where she's got hips back, shoulders back, we got to make sure that you're not too eager to throw. Sometimes people will initiate the elbow drive before they really get the low body going. The real problem with this is when she initiates the drive, she's shooting out here towards this playground. But then if her hips are still closed, once she opens them, the line gets kind of adjusted out here. So she's making a mid-throw adjustment because she started here and then she opened, and it causes you to pull things to the right. Also, you lose that chain coming up from the ground through all your muscles to throw as hard as you can. So how can we correct this one? It's a pretty easy drill that you can do. Even just getting to here, you can stand like this with one foot in front of the other, the right foot in front, and you can just practice going from here into the loaded position like this. You can do this in the living room if you want. You're practicing the timing of reaching the leg and the arm at the same time. You're putting yourself in a position where you can go, okay, toes good, arms good, great. You know, you can take a look at your form, and then what you can do from there is just twitch the low body like this, and just practice what it feels like to be explosive low. Obviously, if you're in the living room, don't throw the disc. But you just can see that, like for Sarah here, if she does that, the first 2 inches of shoulder movement is like all generated low. It's not that she begins the motion and then she follows with the elbow drive. But that's initiated low. And it's a really quick thing, so that's why I suggest you just practice with that drill, feeling explosive there, rather than going through your throw and thinking, oh yeah, Nate and Sarah said hips, then arm, then, okay, because you probably bogeyed then, maybe worse, if you start thinking about that during your round. So that's why you want to just work on that, feeling what it feels like to be explosive low, thinking about making that your first exertion is low in the body so that you can start that elbow drive at the appropriate time and keep the throw linear. Okay? Great. 4th thing is about follow through and weight transfer. So if Sarah gets back in that same loaded position we've been looking at, her chin is kind of on her right shoulder, right at her right shoulder. That means she's in that loaded position, she's all the way back like we want. As she throws, she wants to get all the way through the throw, and her leg's gonna come around, and then she's gonna catch with her chin on the left shoulder. And this is what I always call this the cool guy position to watch your throws. Because if you see any good player, you're gonna watch your shot in this position because you come around with a nice full follow through. The mistake that we often see is a toe drag, pretty self-explanatory. But as you're coming through on the follow through, you can show or I can show, whatever. As you're coming through, if you're dragging this toe and slowing yourself down, then you get this position to watch your shot. Less cool for sure, not as good with accuracy or power, and you end up looking like this, like, oh, what, is it double bogey or triple bogey? Could be a lot of things. But anyway, you want to get around to the cool guy position, cool girl, either one, and get ready to and finish your throw here where you're watching your shot. So that's the follow through. You got to make sure you're transferring your weight forward. The problem with toe dragging, there's a couple of them. One of them I think is that you're putting your joints at risk a little bit because you're decelerating a lot when you're in the middle of an athletic thing, an athletic move where you're trying to be explosive, and then you're putting the brakes on that. So I think your lead knee is taking more stress than it should. And my other kind of theory about this is that your brain is only sending messages to your muscles so quickly. So if I say I want to snap my fingers, there's some amount of delay there. If I'm trying to be at 95% and throw hard right here, but my subconscious is already preparing to go ooh and slow way down, I don't think you're hitting 95. I think you're already slowing at the time when you should be at your max. Does that make sense? Because your body's already preparing to drag the toe. And the awesome thing about toe drag from a learning perspective is it makes a horrible noise. So you can always, if you're somebody that does that, probably you have one really ugly shoe and one decent looking shoe. So look down at your shoes and you can learn to hate that noise and you can save money on shoes. So it can be a really good thing to learn, to stop dragging your toe, get all the way around to the cool guy position, and make sure you're getting your full effort into your shots, okay? Great. Last one, number 5, is called angle integrity. This is about picking an angle, whatever that is, and then finishing your shot all the way through. The mistake that we see people make, so if you want to throw a hyzer, if Sarah's going to throw a big hyzer backhand, forehand or backhand, a lot of this stuff applies both ways. She's not going to make that hyzer angle change with her wrist. She's going to make it with changing the position of her core. So if we imagine like a hula hoop around her body, that's the axis of her throw. If she pulls through like a flat throw, then it has a flat follow through all the way around. If she wants to throw a spike hyzer, she's got to drop the front of the hula hoop. So what happens to the back of the hula hoop is it needs to come up. That's the mistake that people make. They're going to go through the hyzer, they're going to be 95% of the way to a good throw. You can get like the full thing, like foot right, the arms right, everything. And then if she's going to swing through, a lot of people will come through here, it looks great, and then they stand up, round off the follow through, and the very last thing they told the disc is, I know it's the last hole, water's all on the right, I got to get in bounds, but on second thought, maybe I'll wobble one out to the right, maybe skip off the water, who knows. Like it's the very last most important thing to stay true to your angle all the way through. And I think that can be something that separates a great player from a pretty good player. Because for me, not as much for Sarah, because she's got sort of a once in a long time talent for throwing forehands in the women's division. For me, I think I run into people all over the country that are capable of throwing the shots that I'm throwing. Like if I'm throwing in a distance contest or something, I'm not setting the world on fire there. I'm not bad, but I'm not doing anything too amazing. The reason that I beat all those guys every single time I ever play them is because when I go for a certain angle, I'm hitting it 9.5 out of 10 times or better. Where if you only hit it 7 out of 10 times, I'm beating you 10 out of 10 times. You can never beat me over 18 holes if you can't control your angles repeatedly. Okay? So that's angle integrity. That's the 5 things. Thank you for that. And also, Sarah may have some more stuff we can do with some forehands. We're happy to take some questions. Somebody ask her some questions because I've been talking too much.
I'm going to just go through some tips on sidearm.
There you go. That's perfect.
Compare it a little bit with what he said about the backhand. With the sidearm, if I start with the run up, I particularly don't do an X step. I don't like my hips to go away from my target. I like it to be a 90-degree turn. So I do a slide approach. Which is simply a step, replace, and step. It's almost like playing defense in basketball. I start high, and then once I'm actually in my throw, I'm a lot lower. And to me, this is an athletic movement similar to how when you go to spike a volleyball, you don't start here and then just try to jump. You know, you actually start here, and then you load, and then you jump. Same with a jump shot in basketball. You start up, load, and go, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm starting up, and then you load, and then you go. And as far as the angle on the left foot, it definitely helps to not open too early. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to be stepping here and then coming through.
Same idea, loading the low body.
Yeah. As far as the hips, a lot of people try to throw with their arm only. And you'll see them kind of coming across their body. I mean, this is a full body movement. So just like the backhand, when you're loading the hips and then coming through, you're going to do the same thing with the sidearm. You're loading the hips and then coming through. A quick tip about the grip. I use a 2-finger. I recommend this. I mean, you can have other things going on there, and that's totally fine. But it's not simply, some people do 1 finger, some people do a split grip. I think this is the most effective grip. But it's not as simple as making the gun and sticking it in there. There's actually a bit of a turn on the angle, and really the middle finger, the middle of the middle finger sits into that crease. And everybody's hands are a little bit different, so play with it a little bit, but it isn't exactly flat. It's more a bit of an angle with that crease. Another common mistake I see when people, especially trying to learn the sidearm, or those that have developed only an Anheuser angle, is that when your wrist comes through, it tips the disc up more than you think. So if you're starting your sidearm throw, you're like, all right, I'm gonna throw it flat, flat, flat. And then your wrist comes through, it tips the disc up to an Annie. So I recommend tipping the disc down and letting the wrist come through to flat.
And it's really the same thing, angle integrity wise. What she's saying is, like, it's really tempting. A lot of people roll the wrist through the shot, and that's causes a couple things. It can be the guy who accidentally throws forehand rollers all the time, or it can be the guy that throws only the most overstable destroyers, and he always asking you, oh, I need your most overstable ones because I got so much snap that I flip everything. Not a true thing. There's no such thing as too much snap. Snap doesn't flip discs anyway. So it's about staying through the angle, just like she's saying, dipping the disc down and really attacking that spot higher than your reach back is, to be able to stay true to that angle all the way through.
And to throw a true hyzer with the sidearm, you actually in order to get your core involved as it should be, you actually have to finish here as well. It's a little bit of a back bend. A lot of people can't throw a hyzer because they aren't using their core appropriately. So that's something to think about, that you're gonna have to finish this way and finish up with your hand.
A thing that allows her to do, if you go back right to that throw, look how much she swings below her own elbow. That's like the definition of a forehand hyzer. A lot of people close this angle up and then they chop over the top of everything. She's going to swing below her own elbow. That allows her to have that angle control to throw that consistent hyzer every time.
And it's not a matter of the wrist moving like this at all. It's really your body. You leave this how it is, and your body is making those angles.
Definitely. And I think one really smart thing she said, I always like to kind of harp on this a little bit. Every destroyer, what disc is this?
It's an Outlaw.
Every Outlaw, they're all the exact same size. The human hand comes in many sizes and shapes. So what she said about grip, 2 fingers, yes, but like she said, everyone's hands are different. So copying our grips, please feel free to try it. But if it doesn't feel comfortable, just because I do it one way doesn't mean that's the right way. Because my hands are going to be different, the disc is going to fit different. I've seen tons of great players with a variety of grips, though most are throwing 2-finger, like she's saying. With the backhand, most are throwing 4-finger. But the way it orients in the hand changes a lot.
Another thought about grip that is comparing the backhand to the sidearm is the backhand uses a lot more of hand strength to create the spin, whereas the sidearm uses a lot more wrist strength. Mm-hmm. So some people, when transitioning, trying to throw a sidearm for the first time, they leave their wrist kind of straight instead of cocking it back, because this is, that's good technique for a backhand. You don't want your wrist to do a lot of stuff. But in sidearm, you do rely on this forward-back motion. So definitely make sure that at least in the back of your backswing, that wrist is cocked back so that you can get a full throw off of the hand.
Absolutely. A huge difference between forehand and backhand, she's saying, is backhand is a passive wrist for power. And you saw that when she was demonstrating the reach back. Extended wrist, not curled wrist. So you're using passive wrist. The only time I use active wrist for backhand is short little shots, when the speed of the throw isn't sufficient to rip the disc out of the hand. So like putting, little upshots, that's an active wrist backhand. But distance, forehand is active wrist, backhand is passive wrist. So totally different that way.
And my last thought on the sidearm is really to work on developing more than just that Annie angle. It's really powerful to be able to throw a flat or a hyzer shot with a sidearm, and it'll also increase your longevity in the game. If you're only throwing annies, you're really ripping over on your muscles in kind of dangerous ways, and you're gonna hurt yourself essentially. So learning all those angles, and you can learn them by throwing less stable discs, like a Patriot, which is similar to like a Leopard, or even like a Mongoose, which is kind of like a Roadrunner. That'll help you if you can get it to fly without it rolling. That's going to help you develop an angle that is not just this Annie overstable flex. Because I mean, if that's your angle, you have one shot. You have one shot. And in disc golf, we need as many shots as we can create.
It's a funny phenomenon, just disc golf being a more backhand heavy sport. We see a lot of people that only have that chop forehand. You never see anybody that only has the chop backhand. It would sort of seem crazy, right? To have somebody that throws every backhand, extreme anhyzer, and flexes it back. So why not strive for that same versatility on both sides with both spins? That's a huge part of what makes me a good player, I think, is just having that versatility. I might not throw it the farthest, I might not putt the best, but if I get in a tricky spot, I have a lot of options of angles that I'm comfortable throwing to kind of finesse the disc and let the disc do the work for me, rather than muscling every shot. So it's like, throwing far, like she said, it's awesome and it's fun, and I encourage you to throw as far as you can. I enjoy doing that, but it isn't like, oh, this guy throws farther than me, I'll never beat him. Because holes aren't designed to show, you don't get that many opportunities to show that distance off, where you actually get a stroke on somebody. Because you'd have to park it.
Golf, not disc distance
Yep,
contest.
true. All right.
Of course, Paige kind of domes all of our distance, so it's a little different in the women's division right now.
Yeah, the course design, Paige gets to show it off more often.
Oh yeah.
In the women's game, because they're not throwing quite as far, so the design to them, if they're playing the same tees as us, Paige is going to get more opportunities to gain strokes from her distance. Where for us, they're designing with like people that don't even throw as far as me probably in mind, because it's kind of, if you have a course that's going to be too far for me, then no one can really enjoy it locally, because I'm probably still going to be in the 99.5 percentile of the world. So if you want to have a facility that people can enjoy, the design is never going to be like, if Simon came here, he wouldn't be able to reach this. Great, because then what's the point? Okay, I'm going to go for this basket now.
Get in the hole.
So watch.
And we're gonna see. He's gonna put as much hyzer as I.
Watch how far below her own elbow she swings. Nice. And that's showing you angle integrity, because she can throw.
You can throw that for turnovers, but it can still fly if you put enough hype.
All right, I'll start throwing harder now. For the fans. $394.
Uphill.
Nice. Uphill's hard. Over downs. Too much hyzer. Okay. So this is a sidewinder, so this is going to be the disc that I can put the most air under before it finally does touch down. Not necessarily my longest roller disc, but it kind of depends a lot on grass conditions and hills and wind and all that, which one's going to go the farthest. I think in ideal conditions, like on a golf course with really, like ball golf course with really short grass, probably like a Thunderbird is my longest rolling disc, because it will hold its angle better.
What about the taller grass? Like, what would you want to throw? More stable?
I mean, you ideally want to get away from a roller if the grass is getting
If it's
pretty
that
tall. But if you need to do it, then it doesn't really matter. You just got to know that no disc is cutting through it any better than any other disc, really.
Holy cow.
Wow. So that won't really flip over because I'm going so far up.
Elevation, I find that it's easier to throw a flex on elevation. If I just try to throw flat on elevation, I'll often turn it one direction or another. But the flex seems to follow the hills better. And to throw a flex, at least the way I think about it as a sidearm, I like to run up at an angle and then aim my hips through my shot at the other angle. So if you think of a flex through the air, it's going like this. So I like to run up at the first angle and then flex my body to the second as a tip to aim a flex shot. So I'm gonna aim up the hill, but then I'm going to finish my shot to the tree. Well, that wasn't very effective, but
That's just because of the uphill, but you can still see that she forced it over some.
and that's changing.
I'll throw a backhand flex. I'm gonna throw a destroyer, basically exactly like I threw that sidewinder, but because it's a destroyer, it's gonna be air shot instead of a roller. And I want to make Downes go back up there. Make them work. So that was almost the exact same throw that I threw for a sidewinder roller, but with destroyer, it's not gonna behave that way. Any other requests? She could, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's kind of an overhead shot for me, and it's really important that you run up kind of like a baseball throw, making sure that the hips are this way, that left foot is forward. Don't want to be going like this. And then I try to land at about a third of the distance I'm trying to throw at about 1 o'clock. And that hits the grass.
The thing I would say about rollers too, as far as aim, is I almost always, like a course like Moraine, it's a lot of woods. Every roller I throw, I'm pretty much aiming straight into the woods, into the side of the fairway, but they pull so much because they're on extreme anhyzer. So I never really aim a roller, like physically point my body at the fairway. I'm always going like off to the side and then counting on that pull across, this way on backhand, this way on forehand, right? So this is a Thunderbird. Forehand roller for me, I do a lot of different ones, but Thunderbird's one of my favorites because you throw it pretty hard. It can handle like a little amount of angle. It's not going to flip up too much. Probably almost nothing will flip up against this hill, but we'll see. There it goes. It's going to go to the left a little. All right. Have we answered every question? Uphill Sky Annie, you're asking a lot. Especially because I already threw my flippy ones over the tree. Too overstable. It's one of my more overstable destroyers. So if I had a flippy destroyer, I probably could have held it and moved. Well, thanks everybody. We got to get going and eat some dinner, but thanks everyone for
Thank you.
Thank you.